Yo, Cardi B just obliterated every rumor circulating right now, and the way she did it. Brutal. The Bronx Queen took the biggest stage in the world and said the ONE name she swore she'd never say again, and her face when it slipped out. That wasn't love, fam. That was disgust. And while the internet's out here trying to write a fairytale reunion, the truth is sitting in the ashes of his career. Offset really thought a 5 a.m. Instagram live was gonna fix what years of receipts already buried? Bro picked the worst possible way to embarrass himself. Before we get into this mess, hit that like button, subscribe right now, and don't blink, because what you're about to hear. Yeah, they definitely didn't want this getting out. Alright, before we even open the evidence vault, you'll gotta understand the skeleton of what actually went down, because the internet is already trying to twist this into a love story, and I'm here to twist it right back into the truth. Here's the bone structure. Belcalis Marlenis Almonzo, yeah, the government name, the ONE and only Cardi B, was on stage at Madison Square Garden on March 26, 2026, mid-performance of Bartia Cardi, and accidentally let her ex-husband's name slip out of her mouth. Kiari Cephas, better known to the world as Offset. The original 2018 lyric name checks him directly, and after almost 2 years of carefully swapping or skipping that bar in every live performance, the muscle memory finally cracked under arena adrenaline. And the second it slipped? Her face folded. Her body betrayed her before her brain could catch up. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere, captioned, looped, slowed down, frame by framed by every gossip page on the internet according to Yahoo Entertainment. But here's what the headlines buried. 2 nights later, barely 48 hours after that on-stage moment, Offset hopped on Instagram Live at 5 in the morning. Not 5 p.m. Not midnight. 5 a.m. The hour reserved for breakups, breakdowns, and bad decisions. Pleading into his front-facing camera like the entire internet wasn't already screen recording every blink. And let me tell y'all something, when I clicked that clip, I genuinely thought I was watching a parody. A grown man, a father of multiple children, a rapper with millions of dollars to his name, sitting in the dark before sunrise, lip trembling, eyes glassy, talking into the void like the algorithm was gonna heal his marriage. Bro really thought Desperation Hours was a strategy. And the timing? Bro, the timing is everything. Because while he was on live begging the moon for a second chance, Cardi was prepping the next show of a tour that was on pace to gross over $70 million across 35 dates as later confirmed by Billboard. She wasn't thinking about him. She wasn't crying. She wasn't replaying the moment. She was counting bags. She was counting stages. She was counting the days until she could close the book on him for good. So that's the skeleton. A slip on stage. A meltdown on live. And a narrative the blogs are trying to spin into a reunion arc. Now, let's pull up the receipts. Let's stack the evidence. Let's run the timeline. And let me show you, point by point, why this whole "they're back together" theory is one of the biggest lies the internet has tried to sell us in 2026. Alright, let's do this the right way. No spin. No fanfiction. No "I heard from a friend of a friend" type nonsense. Just the receipts, the dates, the quotes, the platforms, the people. Straight from the source. We are gonna stack this like a courtroom exhibit, and y'all are gonna be the jury. March 26, 2026. Madison Square Garden. Night 2 of her sold-out run on the Little Miss Drama Tour. Cardi B, performing a song she's literally done hundreds of times since the divorce paperwork hit the courts, got hit with the curse of muscle memory. She launched into Bartia Cardi, cruised through the verses, and outslipped Offset's name on the original lyric. Now, according to Complex, the moment she heard her own voice say the syllables, she stopped cold, scrunched her face like somebody microwaved fish backstage, and physically gagged on stage in front of 20,000 people. I had to rewind that clip 3 different times. 3. Because it doesn't read like a Freudian confession. It doesn't read like a woman secretly missing her ex. It reads like somebody bit into a sandwich and discovered the deli meat had been sitting in the sun since last Thursday. Bro, her soul left her body for half a second. Her ancestors slapped her on the back of the neck. That wasn't longing. That was revulsion. And anybody trying to spin it as romantic is either lying to themselves or working overtime to prop up a man who can't prop himself up. On or around March 28, 2026, barely 2 days after the slip, Offset went live on Instagram at 5 in the morning, and the clip detonated across IG, X, and TikTok within minutes. Users captioned it the obvious way, with one viral post reading, Offset going on Instagram live at 5 a.m. to beg Cardi B for some top will never not be funny, a quote that swept across Instagram timelines for days. Now look, when I pulled up that live clip, I genuinely had to set my phone down. A grown man. With millions of dollars. With a team of publicists he could have called. With a whole catalog of options. Sitting on live before sunrise, eyes red, voice cracking, pleading into the camera like the universe owed him a refund. That's not love. That's not heartbreak. That's a man whose ego just got bodyslammed by a 5-second clip and didn't know where else to take the impact. You can't be a father of 4 and a 5 a.m. crash-out merchant in the same calendar week, my guy. Pick a lane and stay there. Now we gotta rewind the clock to October 14th, 2025. Because before any of this MSG drama, before the live, before the gag, Offset sat down with Keke Palmer on the Baby, This Is Keke Palmer podcast and read his OWN eulogy. His exact words, on the record, I made bad decisions as a man, stepping out, and I gotta take that on the chin. I was being selfish, you know what I mean. And I can say that as a man. I'm a grown man. The full transcript of that confession was preserved across multiple write-ups including Yahoo Entertainment. Y'all, when I heard that audio for the first time, I literally paused mid-bite. Because now we wanna play accountability bingo? After 3 kids, after 2 separate divorce filings, after a public tax disaster, after every cheating allegation under the Atlanta Sun? Nah, brew. That apology should have come with a tip jar, because Cardi earned every dollar of that confession the hard way. Years of public humiliation, years of stand-by-your-man pressure, years of late-night Twitter cycles defending a husband who couldn't keep his name out of other women's mouths. Late accountability isn't accountability. It's damage control with a softer voice. Around that same window, Offset hopped on a separate podcast and went on the record saying, and I'm quoting carefully here, that he should have respected Cardi more during the marriage, while in the same breath admitting he wished his divorce was finalized only so it could stop being dragged through the press, a quote captured by 99JAMZ in their coverage of his media tour. That right there? That's where bro lost the plot completely. You don't get to publicly mourn the marriage and publicly stall the divorce in back-to-back sentences. You don't get to perform sadness about the split while your lawyers are simultaneously dragging out the paperwork. Pick a struggle, my guy. Pick ONE. Because you can't sell us I miss her on a Tuesday and let's keep this in court on a Wednesday and expect the audience to clap. We see you. This one's the killer. On January 2nd, 2026, literally the second day of the new year, Selena Powell, yes that's Selena Powell, posted a now-deleted clip showing Offset apparently knocked out next to her in bed. By January 9th, 2026, TMZ ran the follow-up. Powell publicly claimed Offset was making threats and refusing to repay money she alleged he had borrowed. She also alleged in a follow-up clip distributed widely on platforms including Feminegra that Offset literally cannot stop bringing up Cardi, no matter what topic the conversation started on. Bro got caught lacking on camera, in bed, on January 2nd, and somehow that's not even his most embarrassing moment of 2026 because the 5 a.m. live still hadn't happened yet. The man has had a year of LS so consistent you could set a calendar to them. Now that we got the quotes locked in and the receipts numbered, let's connect every single dot, because the timeline tells a story even louder than the quotes. Alright, now check this out, you'll gotta see the way these dates line up, because the spacing between events is doing more talking than any of these quotes are. Time is the receipt nobody can fake. That MSG slip didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened during the same tour leg where Cardi was reportedly averaging over $2 million in box office per night, the highest per date gross of any female rapper's debut arena run in modern history per Billboard. That tour, all in, was projected to clear over $70 million across 35 dates according to Wikipedia's running ledger of recent hip-hop tours. So while Cardi was casually breaking records on the world's biggest stages, what was Offset doing at that exact same moment in the timeline? Logging onto Instagram at 5 in the morning. Bro really thought that was a fair fight? She was filling Madison Square Garden while you were filling 12-second story slides. Be for real. Zoom out a little further. That 5 a.m. live? It dropped barely 48 hours after the slip. And that timing isn't coincidence, it's surveillance. That's a man who's watching his ex's tour like it's a stock ticker, refreshing Twitter every 4 seconds, waiting for any opening to insert himself back into the storyline. The second he saw the world clip her gag, he panicked, opened the Instagram app, hit go live, and tried to manufacture a reunion arc out of a slip-up that had nothing to do with him. Any half-decent PR team would have told him to stay silent. Stay locked in. Let her have the moment. But Offset apparently doesn't have a PR team, or if he does, they're being paid in IOUs. Then there's the financial subtext nobody is connecting on the surface. According to Us Weekly, the IRS filed documents on December 26, 2025 confirming that Offset finally cleared a $1.5 million tax bill, and that payment only happened after Cardi went public claiming his unpaid taxes were the reason their divorce kept stalling out in court. Read that timeline again. A man who allegedly couldn't square up with the IRS for years suddenly cuts a seven-figure check the moment his ex-wife exposes him publicly. 3 months after that, he's on Live Before Sunrise pleading. That's not a love story. That's a man whose entire life is unraveling on a public ticker. Now plug the Selena Powell mess into the same timeline and watch it click. That bedroom clip dropped January 2nd, 2026. He couldn't even make it 48 hours into a brand new year before ending up in a viral compromising clip. So when Powell's follow-up claims hit on January 9th, alleging he constantly talks about Cardi no matter what the topic is, even the people who don't trust Powell as a source looked at the bigger pattern and went, yeah, that actually tracks. Then on February 25, 2026, a judge officially denied Offset's request for a paternity test on Cardi's youngest child with NFL star Stefon Diggs as confirmed by Rolling Out. Think about that timeline for a second. He filed a request for DNA testing on a baby that wasn't his. A judge looked at that request and effectively said, get out of here with that. A month later, he's on live at 5 a.m. with the watery eyes. That's not heartbreak. That's the noise a man makes when every legal lever he tried to pull on his ex's life snapped in his hand. We all saw this coming. We just didn't know it would be quite this loud. Now this is where we go layer by layer, because the surface story is for the casuals, but the real intel is in the body language, the song choice, the platform pattern, and the legal subtext. Nobody is talking about what Cardi's body did at MSG. Zoom in on that exact half second after she said the name. Her shoulders flinched first. Not her face, her shoulders. That's an involuntary recoil response. Bodies do that when something tastes bad, smells bad, or feels wrong on a primal level. If she was secretly missing this man, her shoulders would have softened. Her chest would have opened. There would have been a wistful exhale. Instead her shoulders tightened. They braced. The face caught up about a beat later, and that's where the gag landed. That microsecond of physical recoil is a receipt no PR team can rewrite. The body always tells the truth before the mouth does. And Offset really didn't catch that? That's embarrassing. The whole world watched a woman's body reject his name at a cellular level, and bro responded by going live before sunrise like that was a green flag. Bro, that wasn't a green light. That was a stop sign with the flashing red bulbs and a school crossing guard waving you off. Now check this out, Bartia Cardi specifically. That song. The original 2018 record literally name-checks Offset by name. So Cardi has performed this record hundreds of times since filing for divorce in July 2024 according to USA Today, meaning she has been deliberately swapping or skipping that name for nearly 2 years straight. The slip-up at MSG isn't proof she still loves him. It's proof of how much work she's been putting in to not say his name. 2 years of muscle memory finally cracked under stage adrenaline at the worst possible second, in front of the biggest crowd of her career. That's not a Freudian confession. That's the sound of a habit she's been actively breaking, finally giving way under the weight of 2 arena shows and an 18-song setlist. Now look where Offset has been doing his accountability laps. Podcasts. Long-form audio interviews. Curated sit-downs as documented across coverage like Yahoo Entertainment. Why podcasts specifically? Because podcasts let you control the room. No live audience. No questions you didn't pre-approve. No ambient chaos. You get to monologue your way back into public goodwill. But the 5 a.m. live? That is the opposite of curation. That is raw. That is unfiltered. That is a man bypassing every safety mechanism his team set up. So when a guy who has been carefully managing his image through podcasts suddenly goes raw and unfiltered before sunrise, what does that signal? It signals the curated version isn't working anymore. The mask cracked. The strategy collapsed. And he thought we wouldn't notice the pattern shift? Nah, the internet has been holding LS longer than this man has been holding microphones. One more layer, and this is the one that actually matters in court. The reason Cardi had to publicly air the tax debt situation in the first place is because that filing in Fulton County, Georgia from July 31, 2024 according to Yahoo Entertainment was being weaponized against her by Offset's legal team. Reports later detailed that Offset was reportedly seeking spousal support and a larger asset share, and according to follow-up coverage he allegedly turned down a sizable settlement offer. That isn't a man trying to reconcile. That is a man trying to extract. A man trying to maximize a payday off a woman who already moved on. And the same fans defending the 5 a.m. live as some heartbreak ballad need to understand that Live wasn't about love. It was about leverage. Now let's look at how the press covered all of this and what their framing reveals. So watch the way different outlets framed the exact same situation, because the angle each publication chose tells you who's selling the fairy tale and who's reporting the actual reality. Complex framed the MSG slip primarily as a viral moment centered on her reaction, not on a reunion. Their entire write-up zoomed in on the gag, the recoil, the comedic horror of the moment. They made the focal point her face, not his hopium. That's the honest framing. That's what we all saw with our own eyeballs. Their headline didn't tease a comeback, it teased the chaos. Us Weekly, on the other hand, framed it as a financial story, Offset clearing the tax debt to unblock the divorce. Their angle made it crystal clear that this is a legal split moving forward, not a romantic one moving back. Different framing, same conclusion, this thing is over. The money is moving in the direction of separation, not reconciliation. Then News and USA Today both ran with Cardi's reborn narrative, leaning on her own podcast quotes from last year where she explicitly said a brand new person had been reborn inside her. 3 different outlets. 3 different angles. 0 of them framed this as a reconciliation. Tell me again how the they're back together rumor has any legs to stand on. Now some people are saying the slip-up proves she's secretly still in love. Some Offset stans are screaming on the timeline that the MSG moment is a sign from the universe. But those are the same people who thought a 5 a.m. live was a power move. The same people who think hopping on Instagram before McDonald's breakfast is a pull-up. Remember those podcast confessions from earlier? Bro literally said he messed it up. He didn't say she messed it up. He didn't say it was a mutual misunderstanding. He said he was selfish. So if the man himself is publicly accepting the L on the record, why are his fans out here rewriting his own accountability? You can't be more loyal to a man's redemption arc than the man himself is. That's not loyalty. That's denial wearing a jersey. The receipts don't lie. The framing across multiple outlets doesn't lie. The body language doesn't lie. The dates on the calendar don't lie. But here's what nobody is brave enough to say out loud. Here's what nobody is talking about, and you might wanna sit down for this one because I'm about to say what every blog is too scared to print. The mainstream gossip outlets are running this entire story like it's a Hallmark movie. Woman accidentally says X's name on stage. X sees the clip. X goes live pleading. Fans wonder if Cupid's arrow flew through Madison Square Garden and grazed both of them at the same time. That is the dollar store narrative. That's the version they sell to people who don't read past the headline. The real story underneath all of it. This is a masterclass in psychological warfare, and Cardi B already won the war before Offset even realized there was a battlefield. Let me break it down for you. Cardi B isn't on a tour right now. She's on a victory lap. The Little Miss Drama Tour, even the name is psychological warfare disguised as branding. She literally took the exact insult tabloids and bloggers used to belittle her during her marriage, the Little Miss Drama framing they slapped on her every time she defended herself online, and she stamped it on the marquee of a $70 million arena run as celebrated by hot new hip-hop. She took the slur, Monetized it, and turned the haters into paying ticket holders. That's not a woman processing pain. That's a woman merchandising her freedom. And while she's playing 4D chess from a private jet, Offset is still trying to figure out where the checkers board went. Look at the strategic timeline carefully. Cardi filed for divorce a second time on July 31, 2024, when she was visibly pregnant with their third child, Blossom, according to the legal filing breakdown by USA Today. Most people would have waited. Most people would have folded back into the marriage out of fear, or exhaustion, or baby bonding hormones, or just the financial entanglement of starting over with 3 kids. She did none of that. She filed pregnant. Pregnant. Let that sink in. That's not impulse. That's not a heat-of-the-moment decision. That's a woman who studied her own exit strategy down to the date and walked through the door on schedule. Offset is watching a woman execute a 5-year escape plan in real time, and his only counter-move so far has been going live before McDonald's breakfast even opens. Brew, every move you make is predictable. You already lost the war and you're still trying to surrender at the wrong checkpoint. Now here's the angle that's gonna ruffle feathers, and I'm gonna say it anyway because somebody has to. Hip-hop has a history, a documented, generational history, of erasing women's wins by reattaching them to the men they outgrew. Lauryn Hill got tied to Wyclef forever even though her solo classic eclipsed everything Fugees ever did. Faith Evans got tied to Biggie even after she was thriving solo for decades. Mary J. Blige had to fight a retroactive marriage narrative for years while her own catalog spoke for itself. The industry doesn't like a woman finishing a chapter alone. It doesn't sell magazines. It doesn't fit the formula the algorithm rewards. So what does the industry do? It plants reunion narratives every single time a slip-up hits the timeline. The moment Cardi said that name at MSG, you better believe there were tabloid editors typing back together into their CMS in real time, because that story sells more than Woman Moves On, breaks records, has new baby with NFL star, and never looks back. But Offset is a puppet in that narrative, and he doesn't even realize the strings are showing. The industry needs a reconciliation arc to keep him relevant. Without Cardi in the headline, what is Offset's story in 2026? A solo rapper, post-Migos, dealing with publicized tax issues, getting denied paternity tests by judges, ending up in viral Selena Powell clips, going live at 5 a.m. like a desperate freshman. That isn't a marketable arc. That's a TMZ slideshow. That's a YouTube compilation titled Offset's Worst Year. So the only way to give him narrative oxygen is to keep welding his name to hers. And every single time a blog runs, are they back? They are feeding his algorithm with her spotlight. He's not winning her back. He's leeching off her relevance like a barnacle on a yacht. And the second the public clocks the dynamic, his career has nowhere left to land. Now connect it all back to authenticity. Offset's recent podcast tour where he said he was selfish and admitted he should have respected her more, as transcribed by Yahoo Entertainment. On the surface, that's accountability. Beautiful. Mature. Growth-coded. But peep the timing. Those confessions started rolling out right when his divorce leverage dried up. Right when his tax debt got publicized. Right when Cardi was about to embark on a record-breaking tour. Accountability that conveniently arrives the moment you're losing the PR war isn't accountability. It's brand management. It's narrative spackle. It's a man doing damage control in past tense and hoping nobody notices the timestamps. Offset's whole I'm a changed man persona is manufactured, and it's falling apart in real time because real change doesn't end with a 5 a.m. live. Real change ends with silence. With distance. With the maturity to let a woman live. And here's the deepest layer, the layer the gossip blogs will never touch. This isn't about Cardi or Offset specifically. This is about a generational shift in hip-hop where women are no longer required to absorb a man's growth at the expense of their own. Cardi watched Beyoncé build Lemonade out of pain and stay. She watched Mary J. Blige build entire classics out of heartbreak and stay. She studied the entire blueprint of stay and turn pain into product, and at some point, she looked at that whole playbook and said I'ma turn it into a tour. I'ma turn it into a new baby with a new man who actually shows up. I'ma turn it into records that the next generation of female rappers will study like film. She rewrote the blueprint in real time. And Offset? Offset is the casualty of an era that is done rewarding men for their mistakes. 5 years from now, this moment, the slip, the gag, the 5 a.m. live, the denied paternity test, the Selena Powell clip, this entire stretch is gonna be the moment cultural historians look back on as the death of his cultural relevance. The culture has moved past him. The audience has moved past him. The genre has moved past him. And he's the only one still typing into the comments hoping the algorithm will resurrect him. And that's the truth they won't tell you. So now the only question left is, what happens next? Alright, let's open the crystal ball, but a real one. None of this they'll get back together by Christmas tabloid garbage. I'm talking actual forecasting based on the receipts we just stacked. Cardi keeps her foot on the gas. The Little Miss drama tour wraps with record-breaking numbers, and her next move is gonna be an album rollout that doubles down on independence, not vulnerability. Watch the rollout closely. The visuals are gonna be triumphant. The features are gonna be strategic. The press cycle is gonna avoid Offset's name completely. And when that album drops, every old Bhatia Cardi lyric is gonna get rewritten, remixed, retired, or replaced. The song will likely get a new live version with the name surgically removed from the setlist forever. By the time she finishes her next era, Offset the name won't even appear in her catalog anymore. He'll be musically evaporated. And when he realizes he's been quietly erased from her discography, he's gonna look desperate, screaming into a void she's no longer occupying. Mark my words right now, silence is gonna hurt him more than any diss track ever could. Because you can't beef with a woman who isn't even acknowledging the room you're standing in. Let's say the divorce does finalize in 2026, which based on the tax debt clearance and recent court rulings is looking more likely with every passing month. The second those papers get signed, Offset loses his last public tether to her. No more estranged husband headlines. No more former couple framing in every blog post. No more romantic ambiguity to milk for press. He becomes just another rapper navigating mid-career turbulence in a genre that's already moved on to the next wave. And without Cardi's spotlight bouncing onto him by proxy, his streaming numbers, his press cycle, his entire relevance ecosystem collapses like dominoes. He is not ready for what's coming when she officially closes that legal door. We all saw what Cardi did to her own pre-fame haters when she ate them alive on her come-up. Offset doesn't stand a chance if she ever decides to actually address him publicly on a record, but the smarter, colder, more devastating move is exactly what she's doing right now: nothing. Nothing. And nothing is the most lethal weapon she has ever held. Because nothing forces the public to fill the silence with their own conclusions, and right now those conclusions are not flattering for him. Now zoom out. Way out. This entire arc is gonna become a case study in how hip-hop handles divorce in the streaming era. Future female artists, the ones still in middle school today, are gonna point to Cardi's playbook as the modern template. The second filing while pregnant. The public tax call-out that ended a courtroom stalemate. The new baby with the NFL star. The tour title that turned an insult into income. The strategic silence on her ex's name. All of it. 5 years from now, journalism students at music schools and culture writers at major publications are gonna be writing essays and dissertations about the Little Miss drama tour as a turning point in how women navigate high-profile separation in the algorithm age. And Offset? Offset is gonna be a footnote in her chapter. The man who used to be one half of one of hip-hop's biggest power couples is gonna be remembered as the cautionary tale they teach new artists to avoid becoming. The "do not do this" slide in the documentary. The before and after photo on the PR consultant's PowerPoint. That is the legacy damage. That is the L that doesn't wash off no matter how many podcast apologies he records. And for Cardi? Her legacy is about to elevate to a tier most rappers, male or female, only dream of touching. She's not just a hitmaker anymore. She's about to become a cultural pillar, the woman who proved you can have 3 kids, a second divorce filing, a brand new baby, a sold-out arena tour, and a Grammy-tier comeback all in the same era without breaking stride. Without breaking down. Without breaking character. When this entire chapter finally closes, the headline isn't gonna be "Cardi survived Offset." That's a small story. The headline is gonna be "Cardi graduated from him." And graduation is permanent. Diplomas don't expire. Degrees don't reverse. Whatever happens next, whether the divorce finalizes in spring, summer, or fall, whether Offset goes on 10 more podcast apology tours, whether he hops on live at 4 a.m. next time to one-up himself, one thing is already cemented in the cultural concrete. Offset already lost. He lost the marriage. He lost the narrative. He lost the PR war. He lost the body language battle at MSG. He lost the platform war by going from podcasts to panic lives. And most importantly, he lost the woman because she was already gone long before the slip ever happened. The slip didn't bring them back together. The slip was the eulogy. The live wasn't a reunion attempt. The live was the funeral. And Cardi B? She's not at the service. She's on stage in another city, breaking another record, writing another chapter of a book Offset will never get to co-author again. That's the truth. That's the forecast. That's the L. And class is dismissed. If this just changed how you see everything, go ahead and hit like and subscribe because we don't miss when it comes to exposing the truth.